So I think the mantra here is don't treat this as a massive overhead that you need lots of people to do. Try and find a way of doing it that you can keep consistent.
I think outbound is typically seen as something that's a bit harder. You've got to put some more effort into it.
Is this the responsibility of sales or marketing?
Outbound is again, traditionally thought of as a very linear process. I actually think that you could make it a little bit more non-linear.
It's that combination that is more likely to be effective, but you've got to play around to see what works for your market. Very serene start to my day today. Very serene. I'm just going to relax the listener by talking in a nice soft voice and describe my serene morning. Came down, put the kettle on, normal routine, dog start, whining and barking, want to get out, open the back door, completely clear blue sky, not quite frosty, but nice, that sort of dew on the grass. And I thought, that's nice, just stood and sort of breathed in the scene. And a hot air balloon came right over the house.
Yeah, we saw that, yeah.
I thought, wow, that's nice. I just thought, wonder what the people up there are looking down saying. They've been up pretty early, I guess, to get on it.
I haven't seen a hot air balloon in the sky for quite a long time. No, they've probably been waiting. They probably booked it 5 years ago.
I think the summer's quite difficult, isn't it? Because the thermals start up early and they don't like doing that, so they need these type of mornings, autumnal mornings. That's nice. Just looking up, it just seems such a serene moment. So I came to work very mindful.
Very just mindful.
And then opened the door, and we're into the usual.
That was it, yeah.
And then the real world strikes. Yeah. Good. Did you have a good morning? Have you had a serene morning?
Not really. I had a school run this morning.
School run. Okay.
So that's
very much
that's less than serene.
Almost the opposite.
That's me. Yeah, complaining about why no one else.
You don't try and save up like a dad joke a day or something just to lighten the mood in the car. So they look forward to when it's your turn to do the school run.
We don't normally do it, to be honest. So it's.
What are you moaning about?
So, I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a country drive, but it's just I kind of.
That's a nice drive.
There's other things I do. I've got a squeaky seat. That was annoying me actually. I've got a really squeaky seat. So
okay, you better get that fixed.
So it was an endurance. So so less than serene actually.
Okay. Well, I've hopefully shared in my. You can.
I can. I'm visualizing. I'm visualizing the hot air balloon.
Yeah, that evidence just drifting over. That's nice. Yeah. And the cycle to work. That's lovely. But here we are, and so listeners will realise we're recording this earlier in the day than normal. So. Should we crack on and do a podcast?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 140 of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. And if you're a long-time listener, you'll know what we do. We come up with interesting stuff for owners and managers of small and medium-sized businesses. Predominantly in the UK, I've got to say, but applicable the world over. And thanks to all of our listeners from all over the world. In fact, I think on YouTube, it's only about 40% are UK, isn't it? We get
global.
A lot of global audience.
They're
for the people that watch us, and we'll fool them. But I think the people who listen on the Spotify and Apple, that's more like 70 or 80% UK, isn't it?
Well, I did actually read an article the other day about how podcasts are shaping male beauty standards.
You could have warned me about that. In
true.
What way? Sage
well, I think because obviously you've got these guys like Huberman and Chris Wilkinson and
I'm not watching the right podcast.
They're all about kind of the manosphere type of grooming and just being fit and healthy and all this, and so it's reshaping. So what guys want to look like. So I thought, well, we're doing our bit.
Well, you are. Yeah.
Maybe.
Nicely trimmed beard like that. Well-ironed shirt. You've both gone for check today. Are there more men that do podcasts, or is it nice and equal?
Actually.
Is it a 50-50 split?
I don't know.
Because you've just listed off a few men.
I mean, I guess
you see,
you get fed the stuff that the algorithm feeds you what you think.
I reckon it'll be more likely 50-50. It's very democratic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it from home. You don't need a lot of expensive kit. You just have to have something that you're prepared to talk about.
So
I was reading the other day as well. There's a new tool out doing podcasts, which this is a bit scary for even our type of content. It uses AI to come up with content and speak it and come up with the videos and everything. And it's producing them at something like less than $1 per episode by producing these, churning them out, producing tens of thousands a week. And they don't mind if they only get 4 or 5 viewers of each episode because they can scale up their advertising platform across the lot. So it's kind of micro audiences.
There's no soul in it though, is there? There's no soul. You know, you look at some of the early podcasts, and the podcast was actually quite punk when it first came out. You know, the idea that
not our ones, you mean?
Not our one.
You mean podcasts generally?
The avant-garde of the podcasting world was actually quite a rebellious thing in a way. It was sort of, how do you take on the mainstream media? How do you, or TV or whatever? You can just sit and talk and do what you want. You're not controlled by anybody. So the idea that it's now just becoming algorithmic.
I suppose whenever. Anyway, we better get back on topic. Anyway. Listeners haven't tuned in for that.
For a rant.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to put out a thanks, though, to Marianne, who gave us some feedback this week. She nailed the vibe we're going for with this podcast. She said it's a bit like walking into a pub and listening to two blokes just having a bit of a chat over a beer, but about something interesting. And I said, funny enough, that's how we've described it. That's what we're going for.
That's how we describe it. Yeah.
So without seeding that, that's exactly what Marianne said. So thanks a lot again for listening, Marianne, and I hope this is as listenable to as...
Feel free to earwig.
Here we go, listening in to two blokes trying to put the world to rights over a pint. So this week's episode is one of a series. So people are going to get the hang of this, aren't they? Yeah. Over this series. We are in number 2, really, or 3, I suppose, because we had an intro one. Yeah. Where we're talking about, in general terms, the Wellmeadow 6-box model, or in other words, our sort of universal theory of everything. Mm-hmm. How does go-to-market work? How does marketing and sales and everything all fit together? So we did... this is sort of going into the last 3 episodes, isn't it? We did an intro a couple of episodes back on episode 138, and then we covered box 1, which was about inbound and how marketing brings traffic to you. Last week, that was episode 139. So here we are today talking about outbound. Box 2. The one before all of this started, if we're just going to go back to our 3, was our Earth, Wind and Fire episode, September. Episode 137.
Well, when I was talking about stats, I think most of the listeners are in the kind of 25 to 45-year-old.
So they won't know.
So they've got a clue who that is.
I think listeners are older. Viewers are younger.
Viewers maybe, yeah.
I think YouTube has got quite a younger 25 to 40 demographic.
So anyone on YouTube, you can just search it up quickly. Guys, bell bottom, long hair.
Yeah, anybody listening and old enough will just know them anyway.
I don't know if I've got an Earth, Wind and Fire song in my head now, but...
Well, not even September.
I don't know what that is.
Right, I'm going to have to play that. I'll get that segued in, but then it'll be copyright banned on YouTube, so we can't do that. Right, so we're going to talk about outbound. Give us a bit of a... What do you think of when we talk to clients about outbound? How do you give them the one sentence sort of summary of what outbound is?
Well, I guess it gets a bit of a bad... It's a bit of a bad rap sometimes, doesn't it? Like spam, people think of, don't they? Outbound. Cold calling, spam,
cold email,
intrusion into my life type of thing.
I didn't ask for this.
Didn't ask for it. So, and I think it's probably like last week when we talked about inbound, there's a perception that it's the kind of book it and they will come type of thing. Yeah. And it's easy. Yeah. I think outbound is typically seen as something that's a bit harder. You've got to put some more effort into it.
Well, when inbound was first talked about, and especially promoted by HubSpot, everybody clamoured for it, didn't they? Yeah. So they thought, at last, we don't have to do all the hard stuff. We can just build nice websites and have lovely blogs.
And I think, it's because like with inbound, people are coming to you, they want your content. With outbound, you're trying to break into their sphere, aren't you?
Well, you're interrupting their thought process at a time they didn't ask for. Yeah. So you're starting off by annoying them. Yeah. Unlike maybe inbound, where they've looked for it proactively themselves, and then they've chosen you, so that it's more for them, if you like.
And I think kind of anyone who's been around the sort of telemarketing type of world, and you're maybe looking at 1 in 100 kind of conversion rates.
Yeah, pretty low rates, right?
Then you're dealing with a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
So I think outbound can have some negative connotations, but at the same time, how do you meet new people?
Well, that's why it still exists, right? Because it reaches the parts that other beers don't reach.
I think, where's the game with this?
Whose advert was that? Reaches the parts other beers don't reach. Was it Hofmeister, maybe?
It could be, probably.
Yeah, there's an advert of the past there. Gosh, how your brain works, it's weird, isn't it? So it does get you in front of people that aren't looking.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly valid way of putting it in the mix, but it won't work for everybody. And different sectors, are going to have different approaches to it. But there's different ways you could do it as well that probably vary. So maybe the mantra is give it a go, or maybe you've done it in the past and you come back to it, of the various techniques.
I think it's potentially seeing a bit of a resurgence at the moment just because of the whole AI vibe.
True, yeah. Although that's gone a bit too far already, very quickly. Everybody thought, we can just get AI to write thousands of emails to thousands of strangers, and it'll be tailored emails, making it look as if we've written it. The problem is you can tell an AI written email a mile off, can't you?
Yeah. So I think the trick is to try and use the AI to do some form of research around either segmentation or get it to drop in things in a much more natural way.
Yeah.
Than a kind of, hi Dave, looks like it's been sunny in Shrewsbury.
Yeah. Well, the ones I've seen
like
as the CEO of Wellmeadow Limited, you must be very familiar with the challenges facing HubSpot partners today. You know,
Yeah.
we at such and such a company, we specialize in blah, 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 which will suit you down
It's
to
like
the ground.
when you've got the company name of company's house, right? Like that's the kind of,
give you the full,
you know,
and
no one refers to anyone like that. It's kind of,
No.
so it's, I think it's very obvious with some of the AI. However, that being said, I think AI does have a part to play.
Well, Lee, the point you just made there, remember Lee Russell came on a few episodes ago talking about how to get your SME to adopt AI in much more bite-sized chunks, manageable ways. And he said, by all means use AI for helping you with emails, but don't say, write me an email. Write the email yourself, but have the personalized chunks within it. Yeah. And then you just ask the AI to fill in the personalized chunks. Yeah. So it's a bit like a mail merge. You know, you've written the basic thing and you want the customized bits to be part of that, rather than just giving it free rein to say, write me the whole darn thing. So you're right, though, but back to your point, it is seeing a bit of a resurgence. And I think that's as much driven by the fact that you talked before about AI killing the top of funnel, and we had a chuckle about that. But if you don't need Google search anymore to point you to a website that's got authoritative content to give you an answer, because instead you're using generative AI and large language models to come up with a composite answer, then with all of that inbound stuff being harder to do, you've got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe outbound is the next refuge, something else to try. But I also think, is there not a bit of a trend at the moment of back to the 80s? Andy Burnham's going on about this at the moment, but just everything comes round, doesn't it? Fashions and all that sort of thing. And there was a time when good old-fashioned selling, prospecting selling, wearing out the shoe leather, as they used to say, or the tyre rubber, knocking on doors, visiting companies and reaching out to people was the main way you did stuff.
I've got images now. Big tie, slamming the yellow pages down on the desk, saying, ring them all.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened in the 80s?
And that's exactly what happened, Richard. Exactly, yes. Everybody did that. Wearing
well,
flares.
I did actually watch, I don't know if you're familiar with the film Blue Juice.
I am not. This is another piece of my education.
1995, Film 4, when Film 4 was quite a big thing.
I like Film 4. Yeah.
And they did a film called Blue Juice, which had a very young Catherine Zeta-Jones in, very young Ewan McGregor, and probably some other famous people now as well. All around sort of surfing in Cornwall, and it's like, kind of coming of age, midlife crisis, 30 something. But it was just really interesting watching something from 1995. Yeah. Clearly, no phones. Yeah. No, just the pace of the whole thing was much slower. Yeah. Just the way that, and then you just think, actually. And I thought, why are we watching this? I thought, well, there is that harking back, that nostalgic. I think people are looking for that kind of nostalgia. Maybe slow it down, do things too much tech.
I was on a plane last week, so I had to choose a film to watch. And it would shock you that I've never seen this film before. Godfather 2.
Classic. Shocking
that I've got to this ripe old age and now being introduced to The Godfather. So, I watched that. And similarly, it's I don't know where that was.
We were talking about that, weren't we, with some people the other day, saying that quote, just when they thought I was out, I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Yeah, who was that?
It was Neil and Ben.
Yes, that's it.
And
that was from Godfather 3, though.
3, which he
said is the one that the Godfather fans don't like.
Yeah.
Gosh, our conversations do go a bit random.
Random.
My fault, that one. Anyway, so we were saying it's got a bit of a resurgence, possibly because inbound is getting harder to get return on investment for. Outbound is what used to work.
Well,
didn't.
Just to segue that thought of our random conversation and outbound, I think outbound is again traditionally thought of as a very linear process. I actually think that you could make it a little bit more non-linear.
What is that, random or parallel?
Well, I think in terms of channels, I think in terms of content. So I'll give you an example. I had someone try and reach out to us to try and buy Magic Minutes. Right?
Did you?
Clearly not for sale.
Gosh. Oh, you mean by the company?
By the company.
Not a license to use
license,
it?
Yeah,
not the whole thing?
Not customers.
Wow.
No, the whole thing.
Yeah.
All 5 customers.
Yeah.
But he sent the first email, and it was an interesting, just very sort of snappy, 3 bullet points about them, 3 bullet points about us, type of thing.
Do you think it was AI written?
I don't know, but that's a good way of doing AI. I've incorporated that into some outbound stuff. So kind of neat. Next email came along and I thought, right, here we go. Another email. Great. Just ignored it again.
Yeah.
Third email came along and all it said was, this is a picture of me because Richard isn't responding to my emails. And there was a GIF of Pablo Escobar from Narcos where he's on his own and he's sitting on a swing by himself, or he's standing there looking into the distance on his own. And it just cracked me up because I thought, like, I've seen Narcos.
I wonder if we've done research to know that would hit the funny bone.
Well, I think it's just a classic meme of like, you're on your own and no one's talking to you.
Yeah.
So it really cracked me up. And I thought, that's funny, that is. So I actually responded to him because I thought, actually, you've given me, you know, I guess like psychologically, you've given me something to laugh about.
At least owe you a response.
And I've gone, actually, you're
even
probably,
if you just say, I like that.
I thought you'd probably be someone interesting to talk to.
Yeah.
Just because we shared sense of humour.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit risky, and I guess it's not going to work for every single sector.
Who was our contact in HubSpot before Neve? The very first person we met in there. She told me about something similar, putting a GIF into your sequence of emails. Yeah. And the one she showed me was a cartoon of somebody playing table tennis with no opponent. Yeah. And all the balls are just disappearing.
Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? It's that kind of like... So I think that sort of thing is a little bit, not like a lot of... I think if you talk to a lot of salespeople, they'd be very risk averse about doing that.
Yeah.
And yet actually, I think it brings in a bit of humanity.
Well, there's another question. You mentioned sales. Is this the responsibility of sales or marketing?
Yeah, interesting.
Now, I've seen this go both ways in various companies where we talked about it. And salespeople would like to think that marketing dealt with this for them. You know, go and buy a list of people we want to contact to and just set up the automation, send out the emails or do whatever, do the cold calling. But I think sales have got more of a role to play in this than maybe they like to admit. They understand a bit more about how to craft the message, perhaps.
Well, particularly if you're the one that's going to be having the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way, maybe talking about some of the ways you structure some of these emails, and there's lots of schools of thoughts on this, and do your own research on ChatGPT type of thing. But it's the way that I think we're trying to look at it is to say, you've got maybe 3 or 4 different emails you're going to send someone. Yeah. There are, I mean, I've signed up for something, and I actually downloaded all of the emails to try and work out the cadence of when they were sending them. Yeah. Over a year, they probably sent 50 emails, and I get a smattering of some a couple of days apart, and then they wait a month, then I get one.
Do you think a lot of sequences stop too soon then?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right.
I think if you think that whole kind of 7-11, 4 type mantra.
But do you actually get many do you get other people's outbound emails coming into you as cold emails? Do you actually get to read them, or are they well enough filtered now either as just out and out spam or into some sort of non-focused folder? Is it kind of a chance in a million that you actually
I obviously get loads in my junk that I never see, but the ones I guess I'm looking for, probably because I've opened them in the first few emails.
But how did you open the first one?
So I maybe have signed up for something. So I think this particular one, I signed up for a book, and then it was like free book. And
that's different then, isn't it?
So it's kind of an inbound, and then it's the sequence off the back of the inbound.
Yeah, okay, that's a bit different. That's more that thing, nurturing the inbound.
But then I haven't probably opened
true outbound, it's a stranger. You know, my definition of it is they may be in your contact database, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've not got any relationship with them. You never had a communication. So to all intents and purposes, you're contacting a stranger, and they're not expecting it. Like you said, you're interrupting their thought process at a time they didn't ask for. And you've got to say something that's interesting. And there's a few tips, like you say, the structure, you can Google it, or ChatGPT it, but something along the lines of a hook, a link, and a call to action, just something. Don't feature dump everything you do, stick to a simple message and all that. But I'm just finding, especially because I'm using that AI triage tool called Fixer that we talked about in a previous episode, it's putting all that type of email coming into me into a separate folder called marketing. And maybe I have a glance at it once a week, and I probably only get 10 messages down it, which is the last half hour, and the rest doesn't get through. There is still a problem with that sort of.
Well, that's why I think it's got to be multi-channel now, or omni-channel, or whatever.
Yeah.
Particular, multi-threaded, or whatever everyone wants to call it.
Yeah.
So looking at, okay, well, how do you use email? How do you maybe use LinkedIn? How do you use direct mail as all part of the same outbound campaign? So that people are getting that multiple touch point.
If people think outbound doesn't work because they're not getting the response to the emails, then try those other things at the same time. And we've done postal, haven't we? We've talked about that before. We'll maybe cover that in a minute. But also phone calls. Yeah. Even if you ring up saying, I sent you an email, you get that every now and again. At least you can then go to your inbox and have a look and find, they did actually. Yeah. They weren't just pulling my chain. But the idea of us sending the direct mail, let's just talk about that for a minute, was triggered initially because we found a pretty neat solution here in the UK where you can automate that.
Yep.
And on the back of your CRM, we plugged it into our HubSpot, but other ones work as well. You get to a stage in whatever automation you're running where it just sends the signal and off a postcard goes. So subject to you having mailing addresses for people and it being in the UK, it's more expensive than an email, but it's still pretty cheap. I think it cost us 65p a postcard or something. And the idea of it was to say, we've been sending you some emails. If you haven't seen them, maybe this gets through, but it has a QR code on it as well.
QR code. And I think then that gives you, with all these things, that I think we talked last week about having some, 2 or 3 inbound campaigns that you're running, because more than that is hard to manage for most SMEs.
Yeah.
I think as part of your outbound, you can start linking back into that inbound stuff. So when you're saying, okay, we've got an audit or a survey or a scorecard or something, you could just add that as a link into your. And I think what you've got to do at the start, it's kind of like first date territory, isn't it? You don't want to go in for the.
When was the last time you had a first date?
Oh, a long time ago. Probably over 26 years ago, actually. Yeah.
So what do you mean by it's like first date territory?
Well, you don't want to go straight. You don't want to jump in too fast, do you? So you don't want to go for the meeting. I've never met you before. Do you want to book a meeting?
Yeah.
It's like, hang on, let's build a bit of trust here.
Yeah.
Kind of. Maybe there's some other content you can send them to. Maybe there's a score rack. Maybe
I think that's a good point. Don't try and sell at all. Just add value.
Yeah, just
build a relationship. And like you said, even though the GIF was almost enough in that case, just to want you to pay back something. If somebody's given you a free piece of advice or a link to something that's not gated, that is really useful for them, then that's useful. But I still come back to the point, you've got to get them to read the email in the first place. So something else, as you were saying, maybe it's a postcard or a phone call or a LinkedIn request or something else that triggers it. I just thought I'd mention as well, we talked to the postcard company, didn't we, that did this sort of thing. And if anybody's interested in giving that a go, they offered some sort of special offer through us where you can get your first 1,000 postcards for free, subject to putting a post on LinkedIn about the fact that you're doing it. So if anybody's interested in giving that a go, then contact us and we'll try and put you in touch with each other. Yeah. Good. So that was the how do you get them to read it? That's part of it, and I suppose that's half the battle. What you put in it, whether that be on the postcard, in the email, or in your message. Another one that was quite interesting, I got a phone call which I didn't answer, and they left a voicemail. And it wasn't particularly slick voice. There was nothing special about it, other than the fact that what they said they did was unusual. And it just piqued my interest. And maybe that's just a truism of marketing, that actually if what you're selling is truly new, then it's more likely to get someone's interest. So think about that in your messaging. If you just say, we do that like loads of other people do, but we can do it better, well, really? How do I know that? Easier to ignore. But if you ring up saying, by the way, I've got a product that does this and you haven't heard of it before, then you're more likely to get someone's interest in it.
The other thing that I'm playing with at the moment, I'll probably mention before in here, is the HeyGen avatar.
Oh, yes. Now, have you actually... I saw you set that up.
So I've set it up.
How close are we on that?
Well, I'm going to record a new avatar because they've got new tech now. So I think I recorded my avatar a year ago.
In this room?
In this room. Yeah. It's worked quite well for some translation stuff.
I've seen you speaking Romanian.
Speak good Romanian and Danish. And
oh, yeah, you sent that one to a client in Denmark.
Yeah.
What was the reaction?
Kind of like, oh, very clever, well done type of thing.
Do you think people are almost... Everyone sees anything now, think, oh, it's AI.
Clearly. But it's one of those where... So I'm going to re-record the avatar because they've obviously increased their tech and how it all works. So it's a better avatar. Mm-hmm. But people are using it as part of Outbound. You can integrate it into HubSpot now. So there's an integration, HeyGen HubSpot integration, which means that you can grab bits of tech. So the idea is to grab, go and do some AI research, bring that back in, integrate that into the HubSpot prompt for HeyGen, get the HeyGen avatar to make it, and then it sends an email with me saying, hey, your company does this, and this.
But they have to click on it to go to a website to see it, right?
No.
You can't actually embed a video in an email, can you?
No, so I think it just opens it up. So it's
you could have a GIF, I suppose, in the email.
Yeah, I think you can put the GIF in.
But if people block images, then
I don't know whether it's just a bit of a novelty or But I think what it shows, hopefully, is that you're thinking about the stuff and you're innovating more so than what the actual message says, because you're not going to say anything that amazing. But the thing that they're saying they're using it for, which is kind of aligned to Outbound, is they're using it a lot for exhibitions. So if you go to an exhibition and you meet 100, 200, 500 people, you think, okay, well, I met that chap and he was quite interesting. Can't remember what it looked like because there was 3 days of people coming past. So using the HeyGen tool to say, right, remember me, we met at the exhibition, stand, whatever, we talked about this, that and the other, as a way of then actually prompting a kind of, oh yeah, I remember that guy. I remember what he looked like, yeah.
But if the volume isn't that high, you could just record an actual video of you talking to that person. The HeyGen works when you want to scale it up for thousands.
For thousands, yeah. Yeah, or hundreds or
maybe even hundreds, yeah. Okay. That's a nice
Or if you
thing.
wanted to personalize it, I suppose, yeah, put the personalization bit as well. But so, yeah, I don't know. I think some of these things are kind of, you've got to test it, A/B test it, suck it and see type of
Well,
approach
what works
to
today
it.
won't work tomorrow because you're
No.
trying to find new things that grab attention,
Yeah.
like everybody in marketing is trying to do, I suppose. Yeah, fair enough. I was wondering whether it's also worth just trying to go back on that point you said earlier about the multi-channel approach and trying to get the sequence of those right, because we talked there about sending an email out, but people don't respond it, so maybe you do direct mail. A lot of people use LinkedIn in the process, and we can't deny it is the world's largest database of people in work who want to be found, maybe to get new jobs sometimes, but there's a lot of selling done through it as well. And there is an approach which we had a podcast on, I think I looked it up actually, it was back in episode 64, so way back now, where they described this approach as working for them and for certain clients. Now, I'm not advocating it, we've not tried it. I think we've been nervous for ourselves about using a outsourced cold calling appointment setting type agency, but I'm sure it has its place. They make a business out of it. And who are we to say it doesn't work when we haven't tried it? Maybe one day we should. But their approach was to do the LinkedIn request first, from you, not from them as a third party. They take over your LinkedIn account. They send out the requests to your ICP, your ideal customer profiles. And then I think the mantra is that even the accepting of a connection request is kind of a little micro conversion. Fair enough, it doesn't do much. I think the tricky bit is what happens next, because often when we accept those connections, someone then hits you with the first date scenario straight to the, go to fourth base. Hang on a minute. Whoa, I've just connected you. And instead of then trying to follow up with something which gets the interaction going on the LinkedIn too much, that's when they make the call. And then they can follow up with an email and all of that. So they're bringing in these other channels. And I was attracted to the idea of that. And James Willis was the guy that came in from a company called Exceptional Thinking, and he described that. So go back to 64 and see if it suits your business. But this idea of combining the channels, because anyone on their own, just reaching out on LinkedIn and then going dead or trying overly pushy, or emails that don't get read, or direct mail that doesn't work. It's that combination that is more likely to be effective. But you've got to play around to see what works for your market.
Yeah. And it might be as well, there's a point around personas as well, like when do people engage with this stuff? So do people look at their emails or LinkedIn on a Sunday evening, or is it early morning stuff for people? And I think all of this stuff is very much experimental, isn't it? You've got to approach it in a way that says there's no silver bullet to
if
any
there
of
was
these things.
one way
if
of
it was
doing
easy,
it,
everyone
we'd
would
all be
be
talking about it. Exactly. There'd be books on it and we just all follow the formula. The point is there is no formula.
Yeah.
And I guess that's been true of advertising, marketing and selling for time immemorial, really. So try different things, work out what works for you. And what works for you 1 year, maybe month, won't necessarily always
because
work.
everything's always changing, isn't it? Everything,
Got to evolve.
if you're using AI to do your outreach, but then everyone's inbox is now being monitored and cleaned up and responded to with AI, you end up with the AIs talking to each other. And
so just to bring this back to how we physically implement it, in our case in HubSpot, and a lot of people do it their own way, we've tried to automate it as much as possible. If you're going to do the volume of this, you probably won't these days justify the expense of someone sitting manually doing it in marketing or sales. So we do use email lists, but we don't buy lists. We use these databases where you can search for your ICP. And there's a few out there, Apollo, ZoomInfo, Lusher, we've come across before, Hunter. Yeah. These are all various brands that you'd probably be familiar with if you're in the marketing space. Good way of just looking up someone's email. But you can do a search then. I think CreditSafe have something similar as well, where you can filter companies by all sorts of criteria. So you find the companies that you're after, so you got your target accounts. Then you find somewhere finding the people in those companies, which a lot of those databases do, but you could use LinkedIn as well with the people tab. Find out what their emails are using these lookups, and then do something to them. And that's where we at least start the outreach on email. And that happens through a sequence. And I think, as you said earlier, our sequences are too short at the moment. They stop after 3. And I think we're thinking more like 30 might be more appropriate, and let people say they don't want any more if they don't. But make sure that you're not just nagging in each of these emails. Maybe even if you did that many, you could offer a series where a piece of information is gradually trained in someone in micro-learning steps, or you're telling a story, or you find out why
or
someone
even if
will
you
look
just
at the next
say,
one.
are you ready to talk yet? Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yes, no, done.
And don't be too upset when you don't get a response or even an open. Someone's probably seen the preview of it. And it's just luck. You're playing the numbers game, aren't you? The chances of you finding 1,000 people to talk to and many of them needing your service right now is pretty slim, but they might need your service in the future. So we do a bit of that. And then, as we said about the automation on the back end of it, sending the postcard. And then clearly if anybody interacts and the lead score that gets done automatically, if that goes above a threshold, then you can reach out and give them a ring or do whatever you do. So I think the mantra here is don't treat this as a massive overhead that you need lots of people to do. Try and find a way of doing it that you can keep consistent and do a steady drip feed of it in the background, either by outsourcing it or by setting up some automations.
Systemization of it. I think that's another important thing as well. If you build these systems, like who's actually running it? Yeah. And I think a lot of the outbound sequence stuff that you see online is very driven by SaaS companies. Where you've got a lot of tech stack around you. I think we talked about it in maybe one of the tech stack episodes we did, where something like $1,000 a month is a tech stack for most SaaS sales reps
per person,
and which is a lot of tech to manage all this stuff. I think most SMEs. I'm just trying to think through. Do you think most of the salespeople that we know in most SMEs that we work in are really thinking about this as a systemizable, scalable approach? I don't think they are.
But you've got to. To make it work. We didn't cover the question on GDPR, and I don't think it's a big issue for us in B2B world anyway. I think we rely heavily on legitimate interest. Every company has a legitimate interest to contact other companies to promote their services, even using a person's email address, but within the company, not their personal email address. Everybody will have their own view on that, and we've certainly come across data controllers within companies that take a different view and don't allow it, but they are in the minority in our experience, and by far and away most people we deal with are happy relying on a legitimate interest to send cold emails, as long as you've got one-click unsubscribes and you've got all the other requirements. I think also for email deliverability, there's a whole science around email deliverability. There's even companies that set themselves up to help you with your email deliverability, but there's a few settings you need to make on your email server just to make sure that your emails get through. So if you're interested in that, I know that you'll go and look at those elsewhere and find out all about it. So that's box 2 of our 6-box model. Inbound box 1, outbound box 2. What's box 3? Rich, what should people tune in next week to hear about?
Referrals. So when we did our analysis on, and it's an interesting exercise to do if you want to do this, is look at all of your clients and customers and see where they come from. And are they referred to you? And if so, who by? And is there any patterns in that? And then...
So you create a bit of a spider diagram where which referrers have referred, which referrers have referred, which referrers end up as a client.
And then start thinking about how do you manage your referrers in terms of segmentation, tiering, education, incentivization.
So you've given people some homework there. Prior to next week's episode.
Every day's a school day.
Do some analysis of their current clients. Where do they all come from? Who are the referrers? Good. Thanks for that. Cheers.
There we go.
We shall carry on our serene mindfulness day thinking of that hot air balloon. Thanks for listening. I hope that's been useful as part of our series on the 6-box model. And as we always ask you to do, send it on to others or mention it to them in the pub. And in the meantime, good luck with your business.